Alright, so we're doing a Xerath versus Yasuo analysis. The first thing I'm looking for in this matchup is the junglers. So both of these have decent early game, but Xin Zhao obviously has the best early game. And so we're going to try and play around the river control and look for priority in mid, level 1 and 2. In this matchup, Yasuo basically gets to do whatever he wants. That's just how Yasuo works. This matchup sucks, but Xerath is Q, W, and R all ignore Wind Wall. So there is outplay potential. However, you took Exhaust in this matchup, which I find questionable. It does help slow him down so you can land skill shots, but really, you shouldn't be playing skill shot-oriented champions if you can't realistically land them. Items like Rylai's and summoner spells like Exhaust, taking Glacial Augment, and going for Spooky Ghosts or GLP or something. I can see a build like that where you're trying not to be necessarily the hard carry, but then why are you picking Xerath instead of anything else, right? I know that you play Vel'Koz more than you play Xerath, and so this is kind of just a one-off, but in this matchup, you're supposed to shove your big range into the lane from as far back. Okay, so in this matchup right away, before all that, before the lane, the important thing is, how are you going to play the lane, right? And how is Yasuo going to play the lane? With regards to junglers and the level 2 and ganks and Xerath positioning and everything, you don't get to play League of Legends when there are champions like Rek'sai and Yasuo on the map. This is not a good color. This is your zone, right? This is your tower. As Xerath, your zone of influence where you can affect within this range is like all the way back here, right? So that's why we pick Xerath in most of these matchups. Now, because Xerath can stay so safe and control the tower, Barrier is the superior summoner spell in almost every matchup. Sometimes you'll want to take heal, but Exhaust is a support summoner. In mid lane, it's not going to save you. You're reducing their damage by 40%, but if a champion like Yasuo and Rek'sai are able to deal damage to you, reducing 40% isn't as good as reducing 100%, which is effectively what Barrier does. It mitigates an ability, right? And so mitigating 40% of damage doesn't save you. The ability to create distance because of Exhaust slow is great, but you can do that with W and you can do that with E. They both have a slow and a CC on it. So I would like to see you instead take Barrier or Heal in the future in these matchups. With regards to the first opening play and how you're going to play the lane, Xerath typically at about 125. Okay, so right here, right when these minions cross this line on both sides, Xerath is able to start charging Q and walking up. What happens is, as soon as Arcanoblast or whatever the hell, Arcanopulse, max charges and is about to time out, he can Q out and hit this from the Fog of War before these minions even crash. And this sets him up for lane control. He has priority immediately in the lane, which is what you want as Xerath. You do not want to be pushed in against someone like Yasuo. Yasuo extends early into the lane, and he's fine. Because as soon as he hits level 2, he can just E through the gank if it's from behind him. Someone like Xin Zhao generally can flash for flash and stay on him and keep him locked down, and then he dies right away if the laner, Xerath, also flashes. However, in most matchups, when Xin Zhao is coming through, if you had lane priority and you pushed, Yasuo is still going to be in that position somewhere up here. Without level 2, you're both going to be level 1. But he's going to have to fight and tank your minion wave. So you can burn flash right away, or you could just kill him. Because if he tries to fight without flashing instantly on the level 2 from Xin Zhao, he dies. 100%. That's a lot of minions and a lot of damage. One auto attack from all 3 of the backline does more than champions can do early on. So you take 2 waves of caster minion damage, and half your HP is gone. So in this matchup, you'd want a 125, charge up, blast the wave. Then, in an optimal setting, if the enemy laner isn't walking up, if they're missing from the lane, or they have melee and they're not walking up into the wave, or they're ranged and their opening spell isn't something that can hit the wave and you, or some other combination of really deadly level 1s, which almost none of the mid laners can handle Xerath level 1 when he does this, you auto these back minions 2 times. Then, these will almost die, your Q is back on cooldown, and you Q, and you clear the first 2 melee minions, and all of the back ones, and probably 1 auto needed for the other melee. In some cases, because of weird, like, aggro juggling and the laner participation, everything will change this, and you might not hit all of them, but you'll hit at least 4 of them, right? And you'll get all the CS immediately. This instantly gives you the ability to start harassing that laner, and if it's a melee champion like Yasuo, you're going to want to auto him, get the proc on Xerath's passive, giving him a lot of sustain in the lane and lane control, and walk him back to his tower. Now, because it's a champion like Rek'sai, we're going to scroll forward a little bit and see what happens for level 2. Okay, so the wave isn't here yet. Rek'sai went blue into wolves, meaning he's not contesting Scuttle. And he's not doing a level 2 gank, which Rek'sai isn't great at level 2 ganks because he has to start Q, and he doesn't have his tunnels, and he has to go second W to be able to burrow, and then level 3, he has his gank potential. So he's already behind the curve in the Xin Zhao matchup, which is great, which is why you want to force the lane priority as early as you can with someone like Xerath. He has the shove on you here, and it doesn't make any sense why this is able to happen. I see that you have autoed him a bunch of times, you've harassed him with some spells, and so you have a great advantage in HP, but you lost minions to do it. And you want to be using spells to harass while you're last hitting, not just using your spells to harass or using your spells to deal damage to the wave and him, because then you're missing the minions. Although, to be honest, especially in a Xerath game, the first 6 minions are almost irrelevant. Like, you don't need to get that CS in order to scale and win. Now, because he's extended, Xin Zhao is coming through trying to do the network. Is trying to do the... He's not level 2, so he can't dash, come from behind, like either around the shoulder or through the lane bush. You're still level 1, and so all you have is Q. In this matchup, if you had done the opener with the Q 2 times on the wave, right about now, you have your 3rd Q, and the 2nd wave is appearing. Because there are 2 people here, you're going to get you're going to get reduced XP, but you still only need a couple of minions in order to get the level 2. So in this skirmish, it's entirely possible that you could get level 2 in the skirmish, and Yasuo can't. But because he has the push advantage, and that minion is about to die, this minion here and this minion is his level 2. You need these minions and these minions because Xin Zhao is in the lane. So we don't have any level 2 potential because of this lane state. Now, because of the lane state is the way that it is, let's rewind a little bit. Oh, got this thing on. First time I've used this epic pen. Alright, so Xin Zhao clears his red and comes for the level 2 right away. This lane already is good for you. You hit him with both Qs. We burnt the flash. Xin Zhao can just walk away. You don't have to do anything. You've basically won this lane early. But it's Yasuo, so as soon as he hits level 2, he controls the lane again. So walks forward, misclicks and autos a minion, misclicks and autos a different minion. That's A-click me. And then you walk forward and you charge a Q here. So we know if we turn off the vision here, we know that Rek'sai doesn't have as fast of a level 2 or 3 as Xin Zhao. We know that he's not on bottom scuttle. He could be clearing his blue into Gromp into Wolves and then looking for a mid or bottom gank. He could be going blue into red into Scuttle. He could be going blue, Wolves, Raptors, red, Krug, full clear, and going back or looking for a gank top mid side. You know, there's a lot of plays for him here, but we know that he's not on Scuttle, and we know that he can't be level 3 yet. He's going to be 3 soon, and if he takes the topside route, knowing that he's not on the bot Scuttle, he takes the topside route, he can E from over this wall, right? And if he E's, if he does this Raptor camp, he doesn't have to clear the whole thing. His Q will be on cooldown. His unburrowed Q would be on cooldown, but he can kill like 2 of 3 of these Raptors, these chickens, and then burrow over this wall. And then what happens to you? You die, like right away, because of how far up you're pushed right now. You're greeting for harass. Do you have your passive? Yeah, you do have your passive. So what I want to see here is an auto immediately after. You auto the minion, and that gives you less mana back. Half. Gives you 33 instead of 66. If you go for the auto there, you put him, I think your level, early level is like 63 or 83 or somewhere. See the auto damage. Doesn't show the auto damage. Feels bad. Anyways, you get 66 mana there, and you deal like, we'll say 60 extra damage onto. You hit the Q, you hit the 60 extra damage. He's at half, right? With no flash. A WQ Xerath combo. If you hit him in the center, it's not easy to do that, especially against Yasuo when he has his dash, but he doesn't have any minions here. He could dash through you, but still. We'll be pessimistic and say you don't hit the center, but you do hit the W. You get 80 and 105. Plus you get another auto attack worth. So that's 240-ish damage. Meaning he has 60 HP left with no flash. So if you're going to play the bully him early, you have to actually commit to bullying him. And you didn't walk up and commit for the auto, and you don't get the mana, so your sustain is worse. Now, you're in a position where Rek'sai can come over this wall. You don't have vision over here. He could sneak by over here. He could sneak through here and walk up and flash onto you. you have a bigger wave, so you would probably live here, but you would have to burn a summoner spell because of your summoner spells, because of your summoner choice being exhaust. If you had barrier, there's no way that you die in any Rek'sai gank right now. Even in the next 30 seconds, you can't die here. But because exhaust, there's threat. So you break the passive shield. You miss the W. You walk up to the wave with Yasuo's 2 and he has his dash, so he gets to walk up and dash on you. You're trying too hard to fight Yasuo, okay? He's killing himself. Look at how stupid he is. Let's go back a little bit and watch this play out. He's tanking the whole wave because he feels the same way you do. He wants to fight. He wants to fight. He wants to fight. He just ate almost over 110 damage from the minions on the second dash in. When he reset the aggro and then he dashes back in to come at you. You have enough for 2 spells. Your passive is down for 8 seconds, you have enough for 2 spells. Your passive will come back up in time and you can Q this wave 2 times. But you're going to miss some of these minions because of how you used your W earlier. There's a very standard early lane with Xerath, and you should practice this every time. Going back to the 125 mark, you start with Q. And on cooldown, except in a few specific matchups, you're going to be using Q on the wave. You're going to want to try and hit them if they stand near the wave, but you're focusing on the wave control. You're going for priority. Because what you want is you want to back with 700 gold and get a Dark Seal and a refillable, or you want lane priority, you want them shoved under tower and trying to last hit poorly, and you want to help your jungler contest the scuttles, especially Xin Zhao, who can go scuttle to scuttle, buff scuttle scuttle buff, and he roams through mid in the level 2, soaks experience so that he hits level 3 for the second scuttle, and that way if the jungler went to top scuttle or opposite scuttle, he can fight and win, no matter who it is. But you Q the wave, okay? We're gonna go to a fresh wave. So right here, you wasted your W right before the wave shows up. This is something you never want to do. You want to use your W for the slow when you absolutely need it. And you want to try and use it on both the backline minions and the enemy's champion if you're going to harass. But you don't want to use W at all in level 1 and 2 unless you will land your Q as a follow-up. That's the whole point of the W slow on W. So right about here, you would be charging your Q. About 2 seconds earlier in this, actually. You'd be charging your Q, and since he's so close to the wave, you would stay there, keep charging. Arcana Pulse would almost be fully charged right here. You would walk up the little bit, so you'd be about here, and you would clip the outside of this minion, and you would clip Yasuo. So, if Xerath is right here, he was charging here, probably use yellow or pink, and walks up a little, he's going to hit all of these minions and Yasuo if he jukes. If he keeps walking down, that's fine. You hit the whole wave. Then what happens as the waves meet and crash, at this level, with this amount of AP, a W on this backline is going to put them all in auto range for CS. But they're not going to be threatened because it's a cannon wave, by the minions randomly freaking out and changing their aggro and then killing the backline. So you have enough time that you can wait the 7 seconds that you need, 6-7 seconds you need now, for your Q to be back on cooldown. So you would walk up, hit them with the Arcano Pulse, and then you just walk back, and you stay right around here in your minions. If he wants to dash up, he's going to tank a cannon wave and die for it. But you want him to dash this far, right? So dashing into the front of the minions and then giving an auto and immediately backing back out. That's good for him. That's Yasuo. He's going to regen his passive shield and go in on that, but he's not going in on that. So we know that he's stupid. As he dashes in and tanks this cannon wave, because he goes too deep, which is exactly what you want in this matchup, this early, with this advantage. We blew his flash. So he's in kill range right now. Because you took exhaust, you can actually flash exhaust him and kill him in literally 1 second. 1, he walked up a little bit, you got a minion. But if you kept walking up, and he didn't respect that and dashed in, didn't walk back, or stood still, he dies. And the way that you abuse Xerath in this, in almost every matchup, but especially in a melee matchup, is you stand back here because you have such superior wave. You don't need to be this close to the wave at all, ever, anytime. There's no reason for Xerath to be here. This gives Yasuo exactly what he wants, and it makes you vulnerable to ganks. We were talking earlier about the zone of influence with Xerath. His zone is also the only place he should be, if he can help it, right? So we're saying, like, right around here is where Xerath can be. You're right on the edge of this, and that's fine, but you want to try and be in here. If Xerath has a little bit more AP and levels, he can actually change his zone of influence to out here. So he can be a little bit further up, and it's not a problem. It depends a lot on the matchups, but the jungler especially. But he's a little bit safer because of his insane range and his ability to CC any gank. You don't gank Xerath. That's kind of his thing. Because he has such insane range and wave clear and lane priority at all stages in the game. You are dominating this lane with an HP advantage, which is great. However, you're not abusing that by zoning him off of the wave. So right here, you're charging up. Oh, gotta close that. You're charging up, and you're going for more harass. You get the passive shield off, and he has 150, okay? We know that he dies in a W auto exhaust. You don't have W because you wasted it a couple seconds ago. And if you flash here, then you set yourself up to die to Yasuo and Rek'sai for the next 5 minutes. So that's generally not the play that you want to make, but it can help snowball and control this game. Now, these minions are all over the place because you guys keep trading in the wave, and it's juggling the minion aggro. But right here, you've pushed him out of lane entirely. Rek'sai is spotted on a vision on the bottom scuttle, so he's actually behind. When we press tab and we look at Rek'sai right now, he went buff, can't buff, scuttle. And when we click on him, we see the buffs. In the replay, it's weird. It doesn't show you how much the duration is. But if we looked at it, we would see that blue was the first buff that he did. So we went buff, camp, buff. So we went blue, camp, red, and then came back to bot scuttle. And Xin Zhao was playing topside. Yasuo was missing. So you can stay in this lane. right now. You don't have enough gold to back, and you want to pressure him. So what you do is you walk past these minions as you're autoing them, and you play the top side. As soon as Rek'sai appeared on the bottom side of the map, you start playing the top side. You start playing in this pocket. And you walk up, and you threaten him with a Q or a W. You fuck his back up. You don't let him reset here. Because if he resets here, and you shove this wave in, when he comes back to lane, he's going to have a freeze outside his lane. Because that next one isn't going to push hard enough. Let's see how it plays out. You're just standing still, getting the mana back, you miss a minion. You set up a freeze for him. You know that's bad, so you don't let him. He stays, and Rek'Sai's still on the scuttle. So right now, you're playing sort of the top side of the lane, but you're not playing safe enough in the top side of the lane. You know Xin Zhao's above you, you know Rek'Sai's below you. He's got enough, you've got lethal range. So right here, you have both of your spells, you have enough mana for both of them, you have Flash Exhaust. So you're playing here, somewhere in this range. He walks up, and you miss the W. This is bad. You should be standing here if you're trying to fish for long range, max range Ws, and you're hitting the back line. So what you're going to do with Xerath is look to change. So you're looking to use the W. The center of the W is going in between the enemy champion and the wave. And so the outside edge of that circle is going to hit the minions pushing the wave and the champion. And if the champion moves too close, he hits the center and takes more damage. What you're doing is you're using it like it's Q and spamming it to CS, and that's bad. Don't ever do that. It's like on Vel'Kai's, you have W for the shove, you have W to poke through the wave, but you have Q to harass, and you have Q to max range, right? And that's the same with Xerath here. Except in Xerath's case, his Q is his hard shove, not his W. His W is his poke through, not poke through, that's his Q. His W is his harass in CS. So basically, at level 1, you Q instantly on cooldown. At level 2, you now have a choice. Whether you Q'd a second time before level 2 will change how your level 2 decision making goes. When the second wave appears and the first minion appears, you can rush the second Q out and hit the wave, so you can get the level 2 advantage first. Or you can hold the Q, auto the minions, the front minion, get the level 2 advantage, and then W the backline if he's standing anywhere near the minion wave at all. Or you just W directly onto them, and because they're slowed, you now guarantee land the Q. Unless they have some kind of mobility to get out of it. Like Akali could use her E. Yasuo, if he doesn't have his E yet, he starts Q. He can't dash out of the way. And Akali doesn't generally start E, but I have seen him do that before. It's not good, but champions that don't have any mobility are going to get hit by the Q. So level 3, we're already in a bad state because we've used our mana and we've used it inefficiently. We haven't pushed the wave all the way in, and we haven't pushed him out of lane. We don't have vision set up anymore at this level 3. And so we could be getting ganked from Rek'Sai right now. We'll clear the marks and then watch it play out a little bit here. So he's dashing through, he's doing Yasuo things, he's being a jackass. You use Q. Now, this is really micro intensive and harping on like specifics of a champion and matchups that I'm familiar with that don't really serve very well in the macro sense or analysis of how the lane should play out. But if we remove that these champions are in the equation and replace them with Syndra and Orianna or Lissandra. Syndra versus Lissandra. And you're Lissandra and that's Syndra. Okay? In this wave state, you would not have good mana regen. Neither of you do. But you're both gated by mana. And in this position, Xin Zhao is already top, Rek'Sai is already bottom. So you know you're in a 1v1, but you're frozen outside of his tower with this amount of mana because you were going for harass. So the point I'm trying to get to is in all matchups, every exchange, every spell that you're using is a conversation. And your lane opponent is telling you things and you're telling them things. When Yasuo walks into the wave 2 times, dashes into the wave 2 times at level 2 instantly, and tanks over 360 damage just from minions from the cannon wave, he's told you that he is thirsty. He wants to kill you. When you throw those Qs at him and miss the whole wave, when you throw those Ws at him and you miss the whole wave, you're telling him that you're thirsty and you want to kill him. So you both are vying for a fight here, but he doesn't have flash and you do. So in this exchange, you're both saying, I don't really understand the dynamic of who wins and why and when, but I'm trying to figure that out. You're both exploring the matchup and your champions. So in the nuances of this matchup, it's really important to understand, okay, what can your champion do? What does their champion do at any given state? And Xerath has a passive that grants him sustain in the form of mana. Yasuo has a passive that grants him sustain in the form of mitigating damage that you throw at him. So you both are able to stay in lane for a long time, much longer than other champions do. This creates a scenario where junglers are drawn to this lane, which is why, again, you know, your barrier is way more important than exhaust, and heal is better in some matchups because barrier doesn't save you, and it helps facilitate the 2v2 when your jungler comes for the counter or the initial gank and everything. When you miss the Q here the second time, this conversation has just shifted to, I want to win this lane right now. And Yasuo can kill you now, because he has a combat summoner and you don't. He has mobility and you don't. And he is not gated by mana. You are gated by resources and cooldowns, and you don't have either of them right now. You have enough for your E, and this is something I saw a lot in this game that's important to touch on. But he counters your E. It's the only thing in your kit that he can counter, other than your auto attack. He can, if he chooses to, he could auto attack Wind Wall. So he can block you from getting a cannon minion or proccing your passive and getting mana back on him or something like that. It's not very efficient, but it can be done and should be done in cases where it's the optimal play. But he walks forward here and dashes right into your E, and that should never happen. Ever. Ever. There is no reason that you should throw your E directly at Yasuo if his Wind Wall isn't on cooldown. There's no reason that Yasuo should walk forward into a Xerath that has his E on cooldown. In a 1v1 especially. He didn't have a shield. He didn't use his Wind Wall. You both tank damage here, and he goes even further. So now he Wind Walls, but you don't have mana. So that Wind Wall blocks only your auto attack. And as we were saying earlier, you know, that prevents your passive from going off. Your passive is already down. I'm sure his brain isn't thinking about things like that, but he's standing on top of you. Let's go back, because I think his E is on cooldown. on you. Yeah, so he just E's you here, right? So you know that he can't E through you again. So when the wind wall comes out and you hit him with the max range on the W, he can't follow up. So you walk forward here. This little wiggle that you've done right here, where you're walking backwards, and we have vision on Rek'sai, so we know that this is a straight up 1v1. You exhaust, you W. This is great. He's gonna die right now. He Qs, he walks forward. You're walking away. You should not have been walking forward. From here, you have two choices. The choice that you made isn't a choice that you should make. You have two choices here. You juke up, or you juke down. I gotta close that so I can move. This is hard to... You juke up or you juke down. From right here where you're standing, you go up or you go down. Because you're trying to dodge the Q. You got hit by the Q here because you walked backwards in a straight line. He's exhausted, so the Q doesn't do a lot of damage. And he has 106 or something HP. I can't click on him right now because of the epic pen. But in this state, you don't have mana, you don't have passive. But you will before he does. He doesn't have a shield. He can't E onto you again. So, in this situation, you would walk forward in one of these two directions at an angle, and you would walk his dumbass back to tower, and he dies 100%. Instead, you wiggle backwards because you're respecting him more than he deserves. He's already shown that he doesn't know how the matchup works. He's in lethal range, and you have a potion. Does he? Yeah, I didn't think so. You pushed him out of lane already, and he chugged his potion early. So you realize, oh shit, I had lethal. Oh. And he starts dashing away because he's doing Yasuo things. So right here, he's dying to minions. You flash and you get the kill. But you didn't need to flash for that kill, right? I'm sure you understand that before I even got to that. And it was because he was tanking minions with no passive shield, no flash, and he didn't ignite you at any point in any of these exchanges because he's saving it for lethal. Now, you're walking away. He's pinging your summoners for the first time. Let's see. Q and E are up. My gut says that in this position, what your brain, your instincts on like a base level is doing is going, okay, I am now vulnerable. I won the fight. I want to back off because I don't want to die to a gank. But if you're watching the map, this play is great, except for the flash that you didn't need to spend. And you have nothing to worry about because Rek'sai was just bottom and got a kill. So you're walking back, you reset the minion aggro, you could have done it just here, didn't have to go that far. And then you're walking forward. These micro movements that you're doing or not doing is all the advantages that you're not gaining that you could be gaining. You could have already autoed one time on this minion here while you were resetting. The moment that you went back to the tether, to tether the minions aggro to juggle them, that should have been the moment that you right-clicked here, and then you right-clicked here. And then the minion dies in the next auto. So in between that cooldown, you're walking forward, and then you're autoing again. Or, because you have mana and you have the spell, you're max charging Q and you're not autoing at all, because your passive isn't on cooldown. And you're holding it, and then you're queuing the next oncoming wave. At this position, you don't have vision on Rek'sai anymore, and you don't have enough pushing potential that you can waste a Q like that to CS one or two minions. If you had done the whole wave, the oncoming wave with that Q. Right here, you get mana. You have enough time that you could wait for the second Q. And you'd be standing here, right? You have wasted 2 auto attack resets right now since the first auto attack reset that I said when we're juggling, resetting the minion aggro. And that's enough to put this and this in potential lethal range. You'd be down here, you'd Q the whole wave again, this minion dies 100%, these minions take almost half of their HP, this minion takes... Okay, you would actually need to have autoed this one twice to get it, that's right, early. And then this one would need like 4 autos, which is fine, because as your minions are fighting, and you took these 2 out instantly, all 3 of these and probably 1 of the melee minions turn on this single one, which makes it much easier for you to take it out. It will take you about 2 or 3 autos. And by that time, you'll know whether or not you're getting ganked. 1, 2, 3, 4. And your minion wave would be cleared right here. Those 4 extra auto attacks, that's enough to like walk away and not give a shit about the last one, or E it from max range. 60 mana for a rank 1 E. Because you didn't use W. So the nuances of the Xerath specific with the mana management and exactly how much damage it does and hitting the wave and everything, these are important to understand, but they're not the most important part of this lane. The most important part of this lane is, in this 5v5, you have Xin Zhao Xerath and you have Yasuo Rek'sai. Yasuo and Rek'sai late game are going to fuck you up. You're not going to be safe anywhere on the map anymore except for under your tower, and it's going to suck for you. But since you're abusing him early, which you absolutely should do, you should win this lane. Xin Zhao should come through for the level 2. You should be pushing him even if Xin Zhao isn't in the game. At this point, Yasuo is already halfway back to the lane because he stopped his own recall, which you didn't do, again, because that's the important part of the takeaway of this analysis, is that in the mid lane matchup, ignoring the specific nuances of Xerath and wave interactions and champion interactions, the champion to champion interaction is still the same. It's fundamentally the same across all matchups. And that if you have the ability to harass and stop a recall, you take it. If you have the ability to poke and CS, you take it. So right here, you're recalling, even though you could stay, right? Because you are Xerath. You could stay here, but you don't know where Rek'sai is. So it's actually fine for you to want to recall, but it's not fine for you to recall with your Xin Zhao this deep. Xin Zhao's recalling at the same time. He knows he doesn't have priority anymore. The top matchup is going fine. Yeah, top matchup's going fine. The bottom matchup is bad, but that's to be expected with Varus support. And Yasuo appears back at the wave, and Rek'sai has nothing to do. We saw that Xin Zhao was looking at these camps, and so if Rek'sai is topside, his camps are coming up soon. If Rek'sai is bottom side, then his camps are coming up soon. So backing here is fine, especially because it's the cannon wave. But now Yasuo gets a chance to scale back into the game. Alright, so we're going to look at this XP. So here's the important thing. So right here, you shove this all the way in. You have the ability to stay, but we're not staying. Yasuo died. He's level 3. So you have almost a full level lead on him. He soaks 3 of these minions, and then he's slow pushing. And now you show up and you tip him with the Q. Which isn't terrible, but it's, again, you want to be tipping the backline waves with your Q every single time. Because this is your lane. Xerath's range advantage is his power. So you have, what did you buy? Double lamp, that's not good. Okay, 435, that's 870, 870. So you have enough for a Dark Seal, a pink, and boots. But most Xeraths are taking magical footwear runes. So you would buy a Dark Seal and a refillable and a pink. A Dark Seal and a Mana Crystal and a pink. Because that's the optimal back for Xerath, is 700 gold or 1300 gold, so that you can get your Dark Seal Sapphire. Because mana is important. That's his passive, and pushing potential is gated behind his mana. So he comes back and slow pushes the wave, and that lead that you had, gone. Double amp doesn't actually help your laning all that much. 40 AP, because of the low ratios, you need, I think, 103 AP on Xerath in order to QW the backline, where you full charge Q and then you W the backline and you take them out. At this point in the game, double amp tome doesn't actually help facilitate that in any way, so rushing it is suboptimal compared to something that gives you better lane sustain and presence with Mana Crystal and helps you scale if you start to pop off and snowball. A Sapphire Crystal, which gets you still just like these amp tomes towards your Lost Chapter earlier, but it also gives you just like the flat sustain that you need to get to 1300, but with the Sapphire Crystal, you don't need 1300 anymore, you only need like 900. And that is only like 5 waves. So he walks up, he wastes Wind Wall, you dodge the Q, you take an auto, I think. And the lane is even, but he has better mobility and you have better wave control. We don't have any vision because you didn't buy a pink ward. And I don't think your trinket's up. Oh no, it is up. Yeah, your trinket is up. So we're using Q on him. We're standing too close for auto attacks. You get the center W, which is great. He's got his tornado. You're not trying to tank that whole wave and get hit by the tornadoes, so you wiggle back, but then you change your mind because of the Xin Zhao gank coming in. So right here, you're both level 5, and Xin Zhao is level 3. This gank is shit from Xin Zhao. But it could have been better if we're looking at the map here. We see Xin Zhao is clearing his raptors. We know that Yas doesn't have flash. You don't have flash, so you shouldn't be extended at all. And this is pushing into you. So the problem when you come back into lane is right away. This Q is bad. You hit 3 minions and you last hit 1. You missed him for like 190 mana. You didn't buy a Sapphire Crystal, you don't have a Dark Seal. What you would want to do instead is, instead of charging back here and using it here, you want to start charging here and using it here. And then you force him, as he's walking backwards away from the wave, to either come at you or keep walking away. This misses most of the back line. This is bad. You wanted to W him, but he's Yasuo. He does Yasuo things. He's going to E forward or he's going to walk away. He E's forward here. He wind walls awfully. Now right here, Xin could abandon this camp flash over this wall and E this guy. If, because this wind wall is down, right here, instead of walking backwards, he wind walls here, you walk this way, and you E. So now, Yasuo has, I think point blank is, yeah, half a second. So you want to try and walk a little further away and try and get the 1.5 second duration on the E. But this is a bad gank for Zen if he flashes, because Yasuo can just E through the wave. I think he has this one still that he can dash through. This one gets him out. This one is on cooldown, I know. But you eat the Q. You don't use anything here because you used both your spells, your ranged spells already. But you know that he doesn't have Wind Wall, so I don't know what that button does. So he dashes through on the 1, and he dashes into, with no Wind Wall, your E again. Zen is coming around, clearing his camp, doing it slowly, and he dashes onto you. This right here should be a kill 100%. There's no way that this Yasuo lives. He has no way to dash out. Xin Zhao is coming. He eats the Q, or eats the W. You're tanking the minion. You're tanking the Q. This is bad. Tanking the Q there is a problem. Tanking the minions, not a problem. So you should have stayed up there because you're tanking those minions anyways, to keep him there. And if he wants to fight you, he has to dash through you. So you posture yourself near Xin Zhao. Xin Zhao's on the other side of this wall. Instead of having to go all this way, he could just flash forward E. Flash over E. If he's here by now, he could walk forward and just cut Yasuo off. He has no choice because Yasuo can only E forward through you. And he dies. You're all the way back here. You have potions running. The W lands. This is so far away. There's no chance that this should work. And he kills himself. And he wasted Ignite. This is an amazing lead. Played awful by both sides. Including Xin Zhao. And now this wave clears a little better. Except you're not QWing together. So we get a kill and a wave and a half. You have Lost Chapter here. Which, if you bought the Dark Seal Sapphire, you wouldn't have Dark Seal right here, but you would have 2 more Amp Tomes. And your potions would have been stronger. You would have had better sustain. You might not have had to back at all. And you could together pressure this tower and look for plates. Now the advantage is tiny. Almost a full level. And itemization-wise, Yasuo doesn't really need much to start popping off. But no one has summoners anymore. So he wins this matchup in close encounters because of his mobility. And Wind Wall counters your CC. Now he's slow pushing again. Trying to scale into the game. Because he knows the Xin Zhao's around, he's not trying to risk it. This Q. It's not terrible, but it doesn't hit the brunt of the backline, which is what you're trying to accomplish with Qs every time. He walks right through the W again. This is really bad for him. It's really good for you. That's exactly what you want. Your Q is up, yeah. So you auto Q this wave. You auto this cannon, and you Q the wave. And you have to auto here because if he doesn't walk up, there's a chance that that cannon doesn't die with the Q because of the way that the minion juggling and everything. That's just confusing. I don't understand that. Lose both of those minions. He dashes in, gets his Q ready. You go for poke. You have lost chapter, so your sustain is better, so this is actually fine. You E into a Yasuo who has Wind Wall on cooldown. This happens a few more times in this replay. This is like the only thing that he can counter, and it's the only thing that he can Wind Wall. And so you can't throw your E if he has Wind Wall. That's just the nature of the matchup. And as Xerath, you are incredibly safe because of how much damage you do, because of how much range you have, and because of your CC. So, having it on cooldown changes the approach for everyone to the lane. For your lane opponent, for your jungler to gank, and stuff like that. So using it is part of the conversation, and it says, I am vulnerable now. Goes for the exhaust. Xin Zhao is level 4 versus level 6, and positioned to give him a dash out. Recognizes that and tries to back out. Gets the knock up. Goes for the flash. Gets the kill. Luckily, Yasuo didn't have his flash back yet, but he almost did. This is a really great early game. Overall. Like, results-wise, but the way that it's played, not so much. So, we're gonna back up, because we have to look at this matchup, this gank, from a macro position. Top is fighting. Bottom is pushed. And we don't have vision on Rek'sai. So as you walk up here, you're too far outside of that zone. Or that zone we were talking about earlier. He warded over here. So this tells us that Rek'sai is playing bottom side. Because this is pushed up, and he's warding bottom side. So you're backing up. We still don't know where Rek'sai is. We know that Kaisa is walking back to lane, most likely. This Kaisa is level 3, so she's doomed. Getting hit by the Q. Landing the W. Wasting the E. Xin Zhao's coming around. We still don't have vision on Rek'sai. So this is super risky. Xin could die right there. And then we see him tunnel over the wall. Or he walks into lane and tunnels down the lane. So at this point, you know, okay, cool, I have carte blanche. This is my lane now. You're wasting time, probably typing, I don't know. Yeah, I think this right there is where you ask, his flash or yours. So QW, the back line. This is good. You go for the auto on the front line. You're not autoing enough in between your spells, but that's fine. Miss a cannon, rip caddy. And Rek'sai disappeared again. Xin is on his red, so Rek'Sai's red is up. We remember this ward down here, so Rek'Sai is played in bottom side. Rek'Sai is on his blue. So, overstaying here to get the plate is risky, except you're level 7. The last time Rek'Sai was spotted was ganking at level 5. This blue might give him level 6, but it might not. Probably not, based on your jungler's XP. So if he comes and ganks you while you're autoing this tower, do you recognize that that's like 7 or 8 autos? And 7 or 8 autos at this point is... yeah, you're doing about 86, 90 per auto. And it's 1,000 per plate. with the cannon minion and you're autoing, you have this plate already. And you're working on the second plate. If Rek'sai shows up at this point, if we were tracking summoner spells, Rek'sai used flash already, so he doesn't have flash, and you know that. But we'll assume that we don't know that. If Rek'sai shows up, you turn on him. So by this time, you're supposed to be resetting already. You get the plate, and then you instantly back off. Walking up here and placing this ward and everything, when you know that Rek'sai is playing bottom side, is it's a waste of time. You get that on your way out. You hit the plate, then you walk away, and you place the ward right before your recall finishes channeling. You maximize time. But you overstay instead. You get flashed on by Yasuo. Should have been tracking that timer. And you die. Now this ward doesn't help you because Rek'sai tunneled over the wall. You don't see where he's going to go unless he walks into river after this. He walks up, so you know that he's going through his buffs, and then top side is vulnerable. He could be going red and then tunneling straight over, which I think is what he ends up doing here. And you're going to lose a good chunk of your plate here. No, he doesn't push up. He's scared for some reason. Okay, now he's roaming through vision. He backs off. You ping top lane. Rek'Sai still missing. And you're doing a fuck it roam, as I like to call it. You've won your lane, and then the first time you die, instead of walking straight back to lane, you try and go bottom for some hype plays. And it works out. That's cool. Unfortunately, the only person who's here to do anything with that is the support Varus, and you had to use an R to get that. And your ward. And then you gave up what was... Yeah, you gave up a wave. Now you're back in lane. Nice. That's what I like to see. Except with that W, you're trying to... Asaki. Right here. So two things. The wave clear combo is WQ, not QW. Because W takes the amount of time for the wind up and animation of Q to come out. Like Vagar W, you know, it takes a long time. And the second thing is, you're trying to place it so that you get the max range of the W to hit some of the front line as well, instead of placing it directly on. So you Q and then W after like a beat, instead of just QW or WQ, right? So you're trying to... They're going to queue up. The spells are going to go off one after the other. The wave happens, the push happens slightly faster, but these things add up. So you're walking away from the wave again. Another one of these fuck it roams, because we're going after contesting the dragon, I guess. We don't have lane priority bottom. We don't have vision. But we chase off of dragon, that's fine. And then you walk the greedy path back into lane. And you E into wind wall again. With no ultimate, you don't have any kill potential in this lane. Yasuo fucks your shit up hard. Especially if he wasn't buying poorly and all that 0-3 and stuff, he would have Shiv. Or not Shiv, Zeal. That's good. No wind wall, so you abuse. Now this should not happen that way at all. So we gotta look at this again. Exhaust comes out, W comes out. W lands, E instantly gets interrupted with the Q. R gets cancelled. So that was a good flash by Rek'sai there. But Jerome is roaming down here. He already used his R. So you're afraid of the Rek'sai R here. So backing up with the Ignite ticking makes sense. You miss the Q. Jerome feels forced to flash. Doesn't get the kill. And everybody is sad. You eat the Thresh. I'm not sure if you were trying to eat Rek'sai or Thresh there. I think you were trying to hit Rek'sai, but he had his R. And Thresh is trying to kill you. This is super wasted of his time. So that's sad for everyone. The Xin Zhao wasn't played correctly. The Rek'sai was played really well. And with no mana, and nobody stopping your back here, you get lane priority again. However, you shouldn't have been there anymore. That lane should have stayed frozen. Because right here, that lane is pushing to you. It's different if this is giving you a good buy. What's the button for the gold? It does. It does give you loot. Okay. So that makes sense. You had to wait a little bit for it, but you got the loot. That's really greedy, but it works out. It was still pushing to you. And so if you recalled instantly, you actually make it back to the lane at the same time as Yasuo, and you miss nothing. Instead, you stay for Ludens and you take the... you miss the wave to try and help with this. Oh, yeah, that's right. Wind wall blocks comment. It's a projectile. This is just really sad. Alexa play Despacito. So this, right here, this is inting. You don't have vision on Rek'sai. Bot lane has priority. Dragon's still up. Yasuo doesn't have any HP, but you're still pushed up too far. Without playing the right pocket. Like, you should be down here. Walk up, go for plates. Rek'sai could come over this wall at any point. Doesn't have flash because he used it in the last fight, but he has R and Prey Seeker. If he comes through already established tunnel, he doesn't have to waste his E, so he can go through and then E directly on top of you. Push the wave, clear one of the tunnels. Whiff all your spells. And Yasuo has built Merc Treads. In this lane, it's tough when you're playing a mid-lane champion with a lead because you want to push. But that's not how League of Legends and Season 8 works. In mid lane, you don't get to take your tower first. Almost ever. It's better bot wins, better jungler wins, better top wins, better mid wins. If all those other lanes go even, mid lane has a chance to dominate and influence the map. What your job is as Xerath and in mid lane is to prevent this from falling. Because if this falls, all of this is scary. You don't get to play League of Legends anymore. You stay back here. This is your zone. You don't want any of that. So this tower has to stay. And that's your only goal. So buying a control ward would be nice. At any point in this game. Buying a Dark Seal would be nice because you'd be stacking up right now like crazy. And that gives you movement speed, which helps you survive. Your boots are kicking in and everything. But this is one of those bucket roams, right? So you're not playing to your strengths. You're trying to fight the Yasuo, and he's 0-3-3. He's not worth gold anymore. So you're Eing into wind wall again. Even if you kill him right now, you don't gain very much out of it. So what we're looking to do here is we're looking to stay back here, use the max range Qs, hit the whole wave as it's crashing, and W the backline. Once you get Ludens, you can QW. The backline dies to Q Ludens proc, and you can W the front line. In a cannon wave, you then wait a couple of seconds in E, or you auto a couple of times in E. And generally, what you do is you max range, the absolute max range the E. But you don't have all your spells, and you don't have a lot of mana because you wasted a bunch over here diddling Yasuo off to the side. I think you were trying to prevent him from roaming bot lane, but he should have been able to roam bot lane right here. It's the Xerath show right now, because you are all of your team's kills. Do you understand? That you're the only one winning in this game. And so your job isn't to keep crushing this Yasuo into dirt, because he's Yasuo. He could be 0-11, and he's going to pentakill at some point when he presses R in the mid to late game. He's going to keep scaling. He's going to trade 1 for 1 or 1 for 5. He's going to pop off and get lucky and go pentakill at some point. You know, it's just the Yasuo things. So you're not trying to fight him. Not trying to win your lane anymore. Your lane is won. What you're trying to do now is you're trying to prevent the rest of the map from coming into your lane. And the only way that you do that as Xerath is you conserve your mana and you keep the wave way away from your tower. You don't want anything anywhere beyond this point in the lane, because Xerath's safe here. He can E anything that tries to gank him and walk away. He can W to slow some stuff, and then can Q or E, take out 60% of their HP, and R and kill them. But because you're not thinking in those terms, you're walking up and you're getting ganked by a Rek'sai who shouldn't be able to do anything here. Let's look at this gank again. So you don't have mana. You use your E on him. And at this point, no mana, no E. This move here, this is inting. You just need to patiently wait for the next wave. You don't extend, you don't fish for vision, you don't look for max range poke. You're not trying to fight anybody. You're scaled. Like, you are the lead in the game, and it's the onus on you to translate that into a victory and not throw it. So when you walk up here close to the bush, this is a Rek'sai E distance, obviously we see that happening, but this is bad. Like, you don't want to be anywhere around here without your E. If you have your E, these are safe. This starts coming out. You don't have a lot of time to react, but you could have, as he's walking towards you, with, I don't think your E was up yet. Just yet. The right here. Okay, yeah, it comes back up. So what you can do here, as soon as you see this coming out, you exhaust the Rek'sai, and you E the Yasuo. Yasuo doesn't have Wind Wall because we saw him use it, and it's like a 23-second cooldown. Then you can walk away because of the exhaust. You walk away by pathing like this. Rek'sai doesn't have flash, he used it on you. If Yasuo is stunned while he's knocking you up, Yasuo can't R. But he can't knock you up unless he can reach you, and if you exhaust him, he can't get onto you because he just uses E and he doesn't have flash. So the misplay here was walking up at all, period. But then not using any of your abilities and trying to walk away over the Rek'sai. So this gives up the entire lead. Yasuo's back in the game. Worth gold again, I think. No, he got another assist. So he's still not important, but he's still Yasuo. Like, impressing R off of Rek'sai is a huge problem. Impressing R off of Thresh, Flay, or Q. A huge problem. But he has an XP lead now. And he has all of his summoners. Let's speed this up, because this game is basically just the Rek'sai show for the rest of the game. So you catch the wave, and then you overextend again. Way too far up. You just need to patiently wait. Like, even with flash, at this point, the champions on the other team are so strong, so snowballed, that it should be terrifying for you to walk up that far. Slow down a little bit, but this, like the fishing, you're just wasting so much mana and time, like the pressure that you could be exerting on the map otherwise. So the whole point of wave clear in mid lane is so that you have priority to roam, right? So you can participate with your jungler, you can gank bottom or top, or you can invade, or you can set up vision control, you can contest neutral objectives, you can go clear the enemy's raptors or your own raptors and everything. So all this downtime when you push, you could be doing something, and you're fishing for max range poke on the Yasuo who's 0-3. Like, if you kill him here, maybe you get the tower, but you don't get shit for gold. And you've put yourself overextended for harass. So you should flash here. No, you don't flash. You flash late. You should flash instantly. As soon as you see that tunnel animation start, you flash.
Blue team's turret has been destroyed.
Rek'sai should have had to flash to knock you up there. So there goes your entire lead. Yasuo is now a level ahead. And he's Yasuo. He's worth gold again. Yay! So if you kill him, cool, but that's not how this game... That's not the win condition in this game. Killing Yasuo. So these Yahoos are getting run over. This is the Rek'sai show. They get top. And after you respawn, you did another fuck it roam. Don't do these. Halfway to lane. Your lane is frozen. This is good. It's a good time to roam. It's still a fuck it roam, because you don't have R. You have R now. You get a flash, you get a kill. It's a shutdown that's huge. It's pretty good. And it cost you almost nothing because of the freeze that you had set up. But you should have died. Like, when your R came out, Rek'sai and Thresh walking away from you it's ignorance on their part. They just killed bot lane. Bot lane is in base. They might be walking to base. They cannot get there in time. Top lane is fighting. Xin Zhao is missing, so Xin Zhao could be in this jungle somewhere. So they're kind of afraid of getting caught in that. But Caitlyn, or not Caitlyn, Kai'Sa shouldn't have died here to your R. Because as soon as that comes out, Where is it? Right? This right here? Like, what is she doing? Okay. Check this. Doesn't have lantern. We couldn't have put in a lantern. Rek'sai doesn't even flinch. To your R. Rush clears some vision. Rek'sai keeps farming. But what should have happened, because he just cleared vision, and they know you don't have vision here. Alright, Rek'sai walked through with a sweeper. Rek'sai was about here when your R came out, so he should have just went like this, and you die. Right? Thresh doesn't finish clearing this ward. He walks at you. Rek'sai walks at you.
Red team's turret.
And Yasuo has priority, so he could collapse from here, which forces you to path like this and blast cone out and go to safety. They don't play it that way, so it's all null, but that kill is great. It helps keep your lead, but it wasn't the right play. Now this is what I was talking about. Your zone of influence is not here. Especially with a 8-1-1 Rek'sai, who can E over this wall. An 8-1-1 Rek'sai who just walked away from this fight bot lane, and you don't know where he went. He didn't walk over any vision. So this guy could be in your jungle, behind you. This guy could be in the pit, coming over the wall. This guy could be in the river, and he is. And you're fishing for poke. I don't know what you think you're going to do, because you can't 100-0 anyone with those kind of combos. Your combos are, do you hit the max range E? If yes, WQ. Do you hit the max range Q? If yes, you wait for your Q to be back on cooldown. So just throwing out your spells one at a time is bad. Stacking them, combos, are important. Xerath's combo is the ADC deleter, but everybody else is fine. Unless you're insanely snowballed, and this Rek'sai is pretty snowballed too. So 1700, your max combo does, without your R, your max range EWQ combo, the one rotation of spells, is going to do about half of his HP, and that's really good, but you need to have him at about half HP in order to kill him without your R. So, in most of these situations, what you're doing is you're fishing for the max range Q, and then when they aggress, and you can land the E, then you go for the EQ, the WQ, the EWQ, and you walk away, and you bait out your cooldowns a little bit, and then you go for the max range Q again, or if you have your ultimate, you finish them off while safe. Going for that close of range, when you are in the river here, right here, you just got Scrying Blossom. You see Rek'sai, and this range, this is too close. You don't have flash. You should never be here. Yasuo can collapse easily just by pressing R if this guy unburrows on you. So here, where he is just outside of his max range E, so if he does turn to walk at you, you can E here, WQ, and walk away. You could EW, walk away a little, and max range Q. Did that Prey Seeker hit? I think it did. So you're just tossing out your spells one at a time, staggering all their cooldowns. You get hit by a blind NATO. Yasuo just shoved this in, he's going to be walking down, so there's no reason for you to be challenging here, even if you have backup coming. There's nothing to save you in time, because your support isn't a support. He can R, sure, But what does a root do to a Yasuo who's already mid-ult? What does a root do to a champion who's already in melee range if either of these guys are on you? And no flash, so Danuzo. And now, bot lane's gone, top lane's gone, they were all grouped up. You died, so you lose your tower now. Because you strayed too far from that zone. Xerath is a boring champion, but he is a powerful champion. Your job is to crush the wave, and no one approaches this tower, period. And when your team is ready to group up, you now have the ability to use your spells on siege, on artillery, on poking, and making the enemy lives hell, and fishing for max range E's, and deleting the AD carry. All the while posturing really safely. Your job is not ignore crashing waves and trying to defend your jungle entrances. But period. There's no point in the game where that's where your job is as Xerath. The rest of the game plays out pretty much as expected. They got a surprise. Lowy. Nasus just free pushing. Caitlyn is backing here after pushing one dart instead of roaming to mid lane to help protect this tower. She roams top, so that's 3, and you're alone mid. Using your spells on poke here instead of just waiting. You lose your tower. And now the game is done. Like, there's almost no way, except for Hail Marys, where you, like, blind are, not necessarily has to be blind, but you are steal the Baron. We're just going to fast forward through most of the rest of this. Because at this point, 9 to 19, you're more than half of the kills, and you have a Varus support. The play here is basically Illaoi and Xin Zhao walk in. Xin Zhao blocks most of what he can using R and knocks up Yasuo or Rek'sai or Kaisa, while Illaoi, Xerath, max range Qs on Varus, E for the slow, and Caitlyn putting down traps and Qs, and her auto range and everything, pumps as much deep as they can to the front line, into the Nasus and the Rek'Sai and Yasuo if he steps up too far. And you're trying to use Varus Rs, Xin Zhao Rs, and Illaoi R to zone for Xerath and Caitlyn. What ends up happening instead is the story of this game, the way the rest of it plays out, is you have a Varus support who tries to split push and scale instead of just uses utility. Why you pick this champion, I don't know. And when we team fight, the front line is fighting a different fight than the back line, and there's no peel for the back line. So the only chance that we have to come back into the game is to stay grouped. Like we don't get to do this. Here we need to be juggling aggro. When the call was made, Rek'Sai had 8 seconds on respawn. Rek'Sai is really strong, so this is scary. But Caitlyn needs to come up and tank this so that people don't die. When Rek'Sai comes over, we instantly burn and turn. Or turn and burn. This call is not good. This is a desperation Baron, right? Because what we should have been doing is abusing the bot lane and mid lane waves instead of walking towards Baron. Alawi has TP, could have TP'd and taken a turret. Been grouped. I think mid lane would have been the best choice for us to group and then Alawi TP bottom. Or for us to take bottom, Alawi TP mid, we rotate mid and take mid, and then on our way back, we don't fight them, but we set up and contest vision, and then someone pushes out the side lanes. Then we reset, we scale a little bit into the game, we wait for the Baron force. This is played horribly. The rest of this game is a no-brainer. But the early game and the macro and the decision-making with the pick and everything is what I wanted to touch on. Because the way that you're using your spells doesn't make any sense. You're trying to deal damage, but you're not trying to deal damage meaningfully. You know what I mean? Your W is used for slow. Your E is used for for CC. Your Q is your bread and butter. It's your RE Q. It's your Vel'Koz W. It's what is the name of the Ziggs? Bouncing. It's your bouncing bomb, right? Like, you don't get to just throw out your W and fish for damage. It doesn't make any sense. The W is to facilitate landing the other things. That's what the slow is for. On wave management, wave control, and mana management, using your combos quickly puts them on cooldown and allows them to come back on cooldown faster, allowing you to shove faster. When you have nothing to wave clear, you don't walk up and start fishing for max range poke. You control your vision, you stand in your flanks, you roam on the skirmishes, and you use the superior range so you don't actually have to get to the fight in the same way that other champions do. Like, Gangplank R, Ziggs R, Xerath R, these things, Vel'Koz R even, these things are great, even though Vel'Koz isn't anywhere in a league of those other three. In that you're able to roam and affect these skirmishes very abruptly without having to leave your lane and giving up priority. I'm just going to let this play for the rest of the game, but... So you have the ability to deny sieges really well as Xerath, and you have all of the gold on the team, so you should be able to do that, but you're doing things like this, where you're walking in to the jungle, and you're not doing your job. Your job is to prevent them from winning the game right now. And then when you're in a state where it's even, your job is, if the team is grouped and playing accordingly, is to position in a way that you cannot be aggressed on while doing max range poke, harass, so that they can't win a fight because it's not an even fight. It's a 5v5 where they have no health. Getting Rek'Sai E'd over the wall here was what ended the game. This was right where I was like, Varus wasn't participating in either fight. The Xin Zhao and Alawi are dead here. Varus is like, oh shit. Caught in between two fights and didn't do anything back here. But yeah, if I had to summarize the analysis of this game, it is composition-wise, you guys lose. You scale, Caitlyn scales, Alawi gets kited, Xin Zhao gets outscaled, Varus is a fucking useless pick. So you needed to take that early advantage and you need to run the whole map with it. You needed to shove and go to your jungler. Shove and go to your jungler. Shove and go to your laners. But you needed to do it in a way where you're using your spells efficiently, so you're not wasting mana on poking and harassing, because who gives a shit at that point? 0-3 Yasuo, you're not getting anything out of that guy. You're starving him of nothing. He's staying up in XP, staying up in CS. That shouldn't happen. You don't leave your zone of influence unless you have vision or someone is near you so that you can collapse and it becomes a skirmish instead of a pick getting caught. You could have taken your Luden's advantage, shoved mid really hard when you came back to lane, and then just rammed your dick into Nasus top lane over and over. Because if Alawi is winning against Nasus, which she was, then you are preventing Nasus from getting out of control even faster. You're accelerating your snowball, and you're keeping Alawi relevant. Alawi relevancy is allowing two lanes, because Xerath controls his lane. His lane, you can't approach his tower, period. You have an advantage, especially. You have Ludens already. Your lane is always pushed. You have a perma shove. No one can get close to you. Alawi, maxing E then Q, kind of has the same potential, but less early pushing and more gravitas, like drawing pressure to her. And so you know that she's going to be a magnet, and if that doesn't end up happening, like Rek'sai doesn't come top and help the Nasus snowball into relevancy and continues to pressure the bot lane, because this is an absurd bot lane and should be pressured, then you have control of 50% of the map just by yourself. Because you are keeping Alawi relevant, and you're keeping Nasus irrelevant, and you're keeping Yasuo irrelevant. So the only thing you have to worry about is vision control at Rek'sai. If Rek'sai is playing bottom side, then you guys get Rift, then you get all of the top camps, and the top camps are the most important camps for Xin Zhao. Because Raptors and Krugs give the most XP and gold, and red buff is the most important buff for Rek'sai. Rift is amazing. Baron control is amazing. Losing dragons isn't great, but it is what it is when you have a Varus bot lane. Varus support bot lane. So use your spells effectively. Consider how much mana it costs each time. Try and hit the most things that you can with your spells every time from level 1. Level 2, you want to use your W to hit the backline and the melee minions. Or the backline and the champion, so that you can land the Q. So you can keep doing things like this, where you're accelerating the game, you're snowballing, it's all you. This should have been the Xerath show, but it ended up being the Rek'sai show.